Page 324, Chapter 13. Christina returned to her pose on the high chair. She watched the darkness, absorbed with the painting after drinking the rest of Enoch Tuttle's opium-laced tea. Seeing by his pallor that it took all of his energy, all his focus, she now had second thoughts about distracting him with sexual seduction. Still, she felt relaxed in her nakedness, her body electric with desire. A desire from above that once seemed abandoned from womb or yearning for fertility below head and heart. Now, detachment of objectivity could only be denial of blood fulfillment. Then she was getting off, watching artists, being absorbed by purpose, preordained function, serving cause beyond biology, running out past the drive for procreation. That in a man, she thought with a smile. It would take all her willpower to resist pulling him over. Best keep that in mind, she mused. That in the or why or why now inward dialectic debate, sweeping away her attention as X, y'all. In her eyes, now at attention, of that in the word freedom awareness that I am is are y'all izing in the parante kale, the supreme end time. That paruma ending in the first place of any beginning. Program there I, a lion in a being seen, a begaining of it merely in a word, by the ending of it out of paruma, often the mean captivity of ABCs, a time now machina, quivering, glistening, a black wave ray body of a mirror, see as anybody, any tawdry, tarnished, thin king of it, etc., etc., etc. Now, she nice thoughts of that I am finding still seen, as in a word freedom awareness of A being seen, now in words as leap black, supersonically, supernaturally superimposed out now, over under the spell of any understanding of the spelling of ABCs in man, his mind, remembering towards any information of it. Christina now, turning into a knowing out of it as zany thoughts of a goddess, say to be literally, y'all, a being seen, found herself, it, her emit, out as that I am a thinking of it as a womb man, as a memory of now, baby. A ba by aska ba el la ba by. A being seen appearing it still in the first place in the word freedom indivisible invisibility now, any knowing out of it as existing supernaturally as thoughts of it in a space and time now a while within a 3D intent of a gain appearing of it. A daring, deadly denial of appearing and gazing it out, informing anybody appearing of it out information. While as a being seen now in toward a twisting and twirl of it now, as ka now knowing a denial of merely appearing and gazing it out information. That's the plan, she now mused. A plan at painting hearth of it in a mirror black around perpetual echo now building supersonically. Viral pigments, bouncing silent sound waves, building to burst the damn bubble of any mirrored roll or roll of complete darkness that ain't black, she now thought. Ain't black or white or any hue of man, his mind or memory of it. The build-up would be excruciating for anybody still ignoring the ABCs in toward building a lightning-struck tower. In word of 22 personic bricks as any thoughts of it, gotta say to be literally, y'all, appearing of it, anybody, any scant, scrawny, thin king of it, etc. Sailing a devious, debatable wordship, worshipping across his space and time now a while, appearing in memory of me or you, she thought. It seems we all a wheel have turned into or out of any mere idea of a being seen now in word mirrored out with ink as on paper. A proper memory of a moni, the is M. Moni, moni, moni. Monoi money. is in the or why mere memory, literally, y'all, appearing and gazing in toward a twisting in two, appearing, a pairing of it she now thought as X, y'all. Now we all may turn out of it as knowing our eyes, ion ABCs. It being seen in any word now turning out of a knowing of it, creating imaginary line between it or any idea of it. A being seen going out in about a while, a being seen by a now why moni, paying attention. A being seen appearing of it out information by now turning out a projected knowing denial of it. A being gaining any ending of time. Now yet asking of it why, knowing of it perceived out of a black around echoing any mere appearance of it. It now in ABCs of a being seen still indivisible invisibility of any individual. Defined by any endings of it letterly, all in word as existing into a polarity. Appearing a pairing as a positive negativity negation of a knowing out of any denial of it. Now it appearing disappearing by gaining a knowing of any endings of it. Any penning of it in word, a being seen now written off as in turning into a binary, a knowing out, a positive negation of it, a being seen out inward must find now the wave eye of everybody. A blackness now to be knowing of out of a being seen liberated from inward captivity. In a word, freedom, awareness of it, a being seen still in the first place. A priori to any inward captivity. A liberated liberation from falling as leap black into a unconsciousness. Under that spell, understanding any inward spelling of ABCs. Pain, money, at attention, captive, often binary, by now, appearing by name. Trapped in any fielding of a being alone. A alone being indivisible still in the first place. A alone being indivisible still in the first place. Yet, the more y'all feel alone, the more y'all realizing a being seen in the first place, still indivisible. She now reflected. In a being seen now that I am fishing of it, a fishing with the hookahs, feeling as feeling any wave, ray body. On this question why of a quest I on. My quest is that inward waves, evil of appearing, disappearing, out in her eyes I inform as liberation by the buka. A good buka as thoughts of a goddess to be literally all now, a John Stone Warrena, seeking in toward dissolution by virally dissolving inward memory of a goddess to be literally all's a web. A web going, gone. Maybe his virus has a bi-natural antidote, she now wondered. Thesis, antithesis, liberation, synthesis. Page 326. Synthesis, free, liberaten. Attention liberated in word by the hookah, literally, all by the buka. The poison is the cure, or something like that. As Kalima creates any creation out of her eyes, a wave of any or everybody, sustains it in a wave, destroys it in a wave, crashing in her eyes on any imaginary creation, here out in her eye of everybody, turning that black around echoing a wave ray, black mirror sees invisibility of any potential appearing out information of it, a singular black body Maz, indivisible virgin Maz, potentially still in the first place. Ablack by now, instilled, instigating intent eternally, y'all knowing out again, again and again and again in day. Do I not light? It begins with the singular indivisible ending of it as cosmic black around wave, as sending merely in a word mirrored supernaturally zany thoughts of a god, a goddess, more sour figure appearing than disappearing in paint. Beyond words, a Sheena. Sheena tears it back down, black down, because it's only meant to be here, out in her eyes of everybody in form as a wily, wise scheme, a tricky, funny, little deadly, dopey duplicity. Or nay, or now why? Not you? Or you now, as though as Ka now, knowing, projecting out of that moan eye, merely appearing at gazing it, turning into appearing of it mirrored out information. It of that I am could be a being seen separate as a memory of me or you, and so Warrena's virus must also be something, some thinking of a being seen out here in her eye of everybody. Here in her eyes, now in toward a twisting and twirl of it, and knowing out a ray verse of it, RI verse of polarity. It has occurred many, many times. Still, magnetism, unlike electricity, is a continuum. Reverse flow, still that same continuity. Continue, y'all. In her eyes, I am any imaginary lion as sphinx. S.A. Pascience, X per I, and seen a con of consciousness. A con in her eyes, singing to be us by sending back into a blackness to be a gain. Can y'all dig it, doggy? Can't end that without a beginning of it? Y'all getting onto the paint fumes. So my question still is it you or Warrena, or is there a choice of sides in this scheme? Y'all looking at that here in her eyes now, and y'all ask me that? She gave with a pout, then a wicked laugh. Somehow it felt Warrena's whole military-industrial chemical complex could be crunched in her morning coffee. A Maria's eye more flashed with a grimace. Sounds like y'all coming around to Warrena's way of thinking. He wants a reversal of every role that I am playing, breaking out as existing. A painting load of infinite potential. Buddha boy, you got to want it more than any old thing. Liberation by El Buka. As Akashic memory in our eye, recording a quivering of sound waves echoing a black around in time, now still asking of a widening, knowing out and toward a twisting and toward a denial of it. Or it in a word freedom, indivisible invisibility as any individual. A cultivated, cultured cult of any individual, with ink as letterly on paper, proper desire appearing, gazing it from above as below of a being, still asking of it why, as a now turning, knowing out a shimmering cosmic memory field of you, in front, behind, to the right, to the left, above, below, and projecting you all at black around, projecting you all complete darkness that ain't black or white or any hue of man is mind or why now, projecting you all as complete darkness, complete, CCC, baby. Still completely instill that blackness with intent now to be a gain of it, now to be perceived, arcing of it still, arcing of it why, stillness, center point of you, of why being seen in the first place. Paroma liberation now merely denied as ka now, no, in turning out of a why our realizing a being seen still in the first place. Now out in toward a twisting into any denial of it from that invisibility point of you appearing and gazing it from above as below, of it being you still in the first place, ain't black or white in a word freedom. As awareness in a word freedom now, in a word freedom forever, for everybody now still asking of it why. Now any measly, meager, malnourished, thin king of it. In a word freedom, freedom of a being seen indivisible, invisibility as zany individual. Moment to momentum, the urge for a being seen in a word freedom may prove stronger than the procreative, proactive, biopsychological, aska, knowing, turning out one, yet playing out complete roles or roles of the artist that ain't black or white, still offering a wave, reaching out for that golden key, to pop the block. A block of ignorance. Ignoring is really my design. Pop the lock. That's a breakout inward, in toward a reversal. A reverses of it, appearing out still in a word freedom. A liberation from paying attention only as in toward a twisting into all beings, appearing self-imposed inward bonds. Bondage, baby. Projecting as any thoughts of any idea of it being me or you. In a mirror memory now, a no knowing out of me or you. Freestanding, still in the word freedom now. A ba freaking out, baby. Oh, ba, a being of why, ba, historically, is like history of cosmos. Forget about it. Or nah. That's my design. Designed by Warrena's genetic engineering? Guess I'm wondering if there are two sides to this play. Shall I fall completely under your spell or put a stake in your heart? You tell me, Moore asked. Actually, I was thinking of a stake, well, more of a pole, but not in my heart. There's that edge, and I've got a wounded knee balancing on it, he replied. How about sitting your lovely butt back on that chair just for a second or two? Or three, she tossed back with a languid stretch, feeling the muscles of her chest tighten against her nipples. Her impulse went to taking his hand, but she settled back on the leather cushion and backrest of the high chair. Twist slightly to the right, then let your head turn back. Right there, beautiful, hold that. So tell me, woman, are we all turning out for him or against him? Perhaps a bit of modification is called in formaz, a being seen out in mirror mind, mirroring memory potential. Warrena fancies himself a world destroyer. Take it, y'all, back to black, a void of pure indivisible darkness. Why not now a while in formaz mass liberation? A liberation at attention, focused in a word freedom. Free while she now still appearing in formation. Everybody now. A naked liberation. A wide, naked singularity of a being seen still in the first place. We all a wheel are in turning with a slight wobble to the bobble, progressing to a transition in a cosmic zodiac from the age of fishes into finding ourselves fishing, Kandihuka of questioning why. Now the quest, I on asking of it why. Y'all now picking up on a being seen in a why eye, appearing and gazing at any withered, wanting thinking of it in the or why of man's mind or why. Now, that's knowing out of it, into appearing in the mirror age mirage of Aquarius, of any man's mind or memory turning as cosmic corner, no pun intended. If only we could turn a corner. Perhaps we all turn together, a theoretical 180. In any event appearing here, out in her eye, appearing it out, in now as in projecting a wave, appearing of it remains merely mirrored, as any thoughts of a God. Page 328. A God, I say to be literally all a wave functions so. So what we all in turn see is merely inward ABCs out of a literal God as thoughts of it, a creator creating the world in a word. A being seen as thoughts of why. Why are you in the first place? The whole point of view of why now knowing out of it as existing as thoughts, controlled by any meager, measly me as easily thinking of it why as existing yet asking of it why, a curving or any occurring of it turning into or out of mirrored roles. Y'all over that why speak dialectic, Christina offered. Then imagine a being seen out of it. Imagine just as y'all literally in a word freedom of that ABC spelling of a being seen out in toward informing of it in two of anybody. In a word freedom of a being seen supernaturally as any thoughts of it merely mirrored in toward a twisting into a potential. Now of a knowing out of it, a denial of it. A denial now of anyone knowing out information still. A why-eye of a being seen merely appearing and gazing in the first place of that indivisible invisibility of any individual. Et attention, in a word freedom merely mirrored in word ideas, any thoughts of a God to say to be literally, y'all, a being seen, a point of view of you in name alone. What then is why? What then is why? Why inform us of that purpose of it? Now, as any mirrored why not me point of view as knowing out of denial beyond mere function of a being seen busy as any or everybody, or a why I appearing and gazing it from above as of a being as existing. Christina replied, beaming a stare to burn the artist to the ground, but he merely stared back, continuing painting. The light of day now is appearing to disappear. Let us go up to the roof, Christina offered, pushing off the high chair and coming around to look at the canvas. She now saw a familiar face, but its expression shifted with her gaze, finding herself at a loss for words, transformed by the seemingly miraculous creative work. It's a technique I learned from my first art teacher, Joe DeLugos. I call it the 15-minute rule. The work should look like it was done in 15 minutes, even if it took 15 hours or 15 years. It is so imperfectly perfect. In that I'm wanting to say this or that passage needs something, but then, looking again, it is actually just right. What is it? Christina asked. The power of a random, spontaneous selection. A spontaneity that comes from rapid strokes, allowing the X factor to come into play, Moore replied. Call her Madam X, she offered. And in her eyes, a power of seduction executed by a seduced artist in extremes of throbbing pains or sheer bliss, along with periodic closing of eyes, combining in a perfect passion storm. Now I'm that feeling lost in your eyes, or why speak of it in the first place? Why speak indeed? In that I am fielding your painting with the factor of existing now. Moore found her once more beside him. He laid aside the pallet and took her in his arms. She helped him in making their way back over to the bed. Now asking of it echoed in his mind as he shrugged off his leather jacket. The eye now merged into one indivisible, fully felt feeling, field of pain or a bliss, depending on shifting pressure on his wounded knee. If there was any orifice to enter, he could not or would not begin as to finding it. Aware now of a being seen out in other eyes only by the subtle touch of her lips on his, or steady throb of a wounded knee, it seemed she now entered him, swallowed him whole in waves of a heart beating on in his chest. She now, the consciousness now to be any of us, y'all just us. The presence of a being seen in her eyes as leaped black into everybody, engulfed his notions of being seen now out, knowing any meager thinking of it. A being seen now inward information merely mirrored, reflected supernaturally in a black around painting echo, a zany supersonic thoughts of a goddess say to be literally, y'all, superimposed, invisibility, now appearing a while, still indivisible. If there was a day or night to remember, it was completely forgotten, dissolved in any event of it, here, now out in her eyes, ending every moment by momentum, in a wave of Ma's tricky waves, a breaking out over his sure shore, a defense perceived defining any felt field of you or me. Now, as Ka now, knowing out here in her eyes, leap black into every body. Any mere touch, a mirrored touching in her eyes as cosmic microwave, echoing any instantaneousness of an indivisible black around, a being seen still in her eyes as leap black into a every body, merely appearing and gazing it out now as zany knowing out, turning into a appearing of it a while, a meanwhile, a wily duplicity duplicating cities of pleasure or pain, turning, burning, yearning rolls of rolling waves, here out in her eye of everybody out, informas a why being, knowing denial in order to cultivate and cherish as any thoughts of a gotta say to be literally, y'all, in a crafty craft, a wordship worship, Hermes say to be a hermit, or a why appearing and gazing it now as existing, appearing of it information. Right now, you cannot be, for then I would have to let you go. Remember saying that to me when we first met? Christina asked, slipping on a cotton robe. Let's go on the roof for the sunset, Moore replied. I want to get outside this box. What about your wounded knee? I lean on you, still feeling that immortal quantum field of you, and that I am finding letting go of you impossible. Any memory of me or you, still indivisible awareness of it. In that I am is a why you're you, or me, or you in a memory. Why dialectic speaks of a being seen in other eyes, ain't he? Existing. Leave that ting be, baby. Then any abyss as being wise now as existing. That ting, any thinking of it is still indivisible, invisibility now with Mere potentially, nah, not now. In appearance, still asking of it, why now? The power of knowing it. Y'all, no, knowing it is mere denial of it in any mind, mirroring it as why now, as existing information. Out in her eyes, asking of it why as cosmic memory. Still, in general conversation, a being seen out of any eye is the elephant out in the room. Page 330. A being seen of which no one wants to be reminded in ABCs. A being still in the first place. If you ever want to clear a room quick, speak, why speak? Christina offered. Speaking of which, what just happened? Feels like I blacked out, Moore replied. You got that I'm hoping we all did not turn out making a baby look on your face, she now laughed. This crazy dream, need to get out under open sky and talk with the sun and planets and stars away from prying eyes. Sliding off the bed, he slipped it back into his black leather coat as Christina helped him to the stairway to the stars. There was some pain standing, but offset by a greater relief moving out of the claustrophobia of the high-ceilinged room. The awareness of Warrena being so aware of them seemed to close in on his mind, or was he losing himself in her eyes, appearing and gazing at him? For a moment, panic struck, thinking of the roof door would be locked as he dragged himself up the narrow stairwell, one deliberate step at a time. At the top, he threw his weight against the aluminum drawbar. The steel door swung open, and he found himself sprawling on a gravel tar flat roof, breathing hard, with pebbles embedded in his cheek. Gray mist streaked the indigo in a horizon of her eyes on an early evening. Moore rolled on his back, pebbles crunching under shoulders and the back of his head. He stared straight out into the vastness of a darkening sky. Christina kneeled down, heavy curls falling forward to frame her smile, white teeth luminous in the twilight, the crooked ones slightly out of step. She offered him a hand up as a prop plane rattled overhead. They moved to the raised edge of the building, flat bay waters visible a block west. Laid out on the edge, Moore saw lights winking from the opposite shore, backed up to a blackening mountain ridge nicked by Pacific salt air. A stand of alder trees bordered the building, their darkening leaves rattling in the wind. Beyond them, a gray stone building laced with ivy breathed as one living form. Above the rim of its walls, a trinity of towering dock cranes stabbed into open horizon, steel girders taut with woven cables. He felt amazed, overwhelmed by the sheer industry of man as extending mind, imagineering out of a her eye anytime machinery waves, listening to the echo of infinite potential. As zany thoughts of a great goddess to be literally all as a science whole body of a being to perceive, to wish, to think, to desire from above as below of a being seen merely appearing and gazing it out. A eye staring out now, time and space, at a sun, a moon, a star, I to be out in me or you. Inward memory, still in a word freedom, timeless awareness of it. There is one thing about genuine gurus, Margot Christina spoke softly, her voice barely discernible above the flow of traffic on freeways east and west. Those who dispel the ignorance, the knowing, under that spell, understanding the spelling of ABCs, of a being seen by now as Ka now, knowing out of it, turning into the The twin, a double or twin. Y'all gotta laugh your ass of finding out that duplicity. She now whispering, lips kissing along his cheekbone. They, genuine gurus, get the joke of anybody shredding tears while seeing it now, knowing denial of it. Out as any thoughts of, you gotta say, to be here in her eye, creator creation of Eve body. Moore laughed out loud, hearing it dissolve in a tale of two cities as two powers, a singular twisting of it in toward a turning into a mere duplicity, a duplicate city, still in the first place, Akit Aten, etting, duplicating Akin Aten, a between Ka or Hey I, a duplicate city. Moore's blood ran cold. He now felt cornered, breathing down his neck like a bone chill from an Illinois prairie winter wind. It hit him as awareness of it now, with the successful completion of the painting of Christina. His life was completely expendable. More than that, the painting of it. He would be the painter of the painting to supersonically destroy a mankind, as we all in turn come to know, as Ka now knowing, turning into it. Now he considered destroying his work before it appeared in the public eye. As thoughts turned in that direction, the tinnitus picked up intensity. Instinctively, Moore realized the profound, predetermined nature of the commission. Still, he found it being seen anybody or any measly thinking out of it, any potential of possibilities of desire, out of indivisible invisibility of appearing engaged in it now, yet as king of it. Why, no, knowing a positive negation of it, projecting supersonically, supernaturally, all merely superimposed, echoing out here in her eye of Eve body, a microwave eyeing it into or out of a black around, day, do why now light, on the double from above as below, a being seen desire, parumas, possibilities, holding a potential polarity of it appearing on the one hand, still indivisible on the other, a being seen appearing by that simple twisting in toward existing a while in formation. Meanwhile, still indivisible, invisibility now out here in her eyes, a leap into Ma's possibilities, a Y mirrored as X, y'all. Any whole potential of Ma's just Y. Still just us. That serious joke of any man with or without a womb is mine, or memory appearing of it a while, merely appearing, gazing it, mirrored out in a her eye of Eve body. A mind or a YI still in a word freedom awareness of a being seen still in the first place. Moore thought he must value laughter as prophylactic to break up that serious trouble in the inward mind, or a YI appearing and gazing it out now, yet as king of it. Why, no, knowing turning into a double inward information. As any thoughts of it got to say to be, literally all a pairing of it. A between meaning of macro or microcosmic mass possibilities, now falling as leap lag around, awakening at attention, a knowing out of any understanding, the spelling of ABCs phonographically, appearing of it in word, a meanwhile of taking Ma's just why of it being seen out in her eye, asking of it why, a cosmic, comic, mirrored memory of me or you as Tuca de Luca, seriously. A serious, sheer, singular folly of a YI merely appearing and gazing it out, in twelve appearing of it. Appearing, yet then disappearing. Losing that sense of humor, any human is doomed. Hearing these words, Moore found himself at a loss of a gain appearing out of it in her eyes, a black, glistening mirror sees echo of everybody. ABC's out here in her eyes. Zany or everybody now appearing engaged at understanding of any word. Yet, as king of it, why, no, knowing out, projecting any appearance of it by supernaturally superimposing it as zany thoughts of a completion. God, essay to be literally, y'all, mirrored out in word as cosmic memory, being seen merely a double trouble in word information. A YIR, y'all, now as zany thoughts. He got us to be literally, y'all, supersonically appearing out in words, zany as existing roles of a role playing out in complete darkness. Or why, a la queen, K and K of that in which appears day, do I now light, do I now yet asking of it why perceiving as cosmic day, do I not light, igniting neuronal as organ, expecting, existing, the any now, a now why, merely mirrored, as ka now, turning as thoughts of a hidden closed singularity in words as appearing out of it, a being seen still in of a singularity. 332. Genuine Reeves and Swamis para un hombre de conocimiento, a man of knowledge, aglow with the sheer joy, Jesus, a twilight, el hermit of a being still freestanding in the first place. The Reeves and Swamis, they must cut it up while cooking you from the inside until any ego is like burnt newspaper, still readable but disintegrating at mere touch. You die in Parantacale, the supreme end time, by hookah or kruka as the buka. A why na as X per eye and seen, as a jazz tatuamasi, as I of that I am is of a type face, appearing of it information with ink as on paper, pa per ma's distribution. Once more find his thoughts tracking the YIs, leap into dialectic debate, laughed his ass off from merely appearing and gazing at any scant, skinny, stunted, thin king of it. Still completely complete completion, as king of it. Why? That's so funny because in that I am just flashing on Jesus as gravity of sparking ash particles with ego. Ego of the ash, dashing, drifting hither and yon, and a being as cosmic scene. From an artist's perspective, more now considered, the less you let ego distract attention, the less y'all take yourself too seriously, the better. The more free and spontaneous the artwork, the whole cult of personality seems like mere sparking burnt flakes of paper, per drifting, tore away in a cosmic wind, feeling it out here under open sky, projecting gravity free at light speed. We all turning on this magnificent planet Earth, a planeting, a worlding hearth, as worlds within supersonic worlds, still indivisible invisibility of a being seen mirrored inward out of the cosmic microwave black around. We all turn out mere particles in a particular nuke storm. Moore laughed at the sheer folly of it being seen out of it, a zany imagined image of his overactive inward imagination while gingerly prodding his bandaged wounded knee. Still, a being seen appearing in the first place, that indivisible invisibility of any individual appearing of it merely now a while, the butt end of her eye waver a funny action joke. Still, the black hole sacred as Christ. Any parts, mere any inward denial of no knowing of it, mirrored as any thoughts of a why nah you now, as existing in any role or role of complete darkness. You are I complete. Complete are I, y'all. Sheena touched her lips to his. At the intersection of Middlefield and Charleston, Quesanda saw a man with cut-off jeans and t-shirt. His belly rolled like an inner tube as he pushed his girlfriend in a wheelchair. The man foraged aluminum cans from public trash, stuffing his finds in a torn plastic shopping bag, ceaselessly talking as he wheeled his girlfriend between receptacles. Her expression remained frozen, staring into a being unseen. Nearby, a child danced under blowing hair, spinning around with cheeks the color of hot metal. She clutched a box of candy in a tiny fist. Adults dragged along behind her, heavy with the weight of their gathering years. A woman in the next car chomped on a sandwich, jaws working mechanically at the wad of bread. Quesanda thought about her side of town compared to this wealth of the shade tree-lined avenues of freshly painted split-level homes. How it contrasted like the joy of the child with the sorrowful drudgery of the adults. Her ancestors carried the dream of the child into adulthood. She had come from Bilad as Sudan, the land of the blacks, known in ancient times as Ethiopia, or land of the burnt faces. Father Enzo Kia was a chief in the Dinka tribe, the most powerful in the south. They were an older race, highly evolved hunters and herdsmen for over 10,000 years, inundated by Egyptian, European, and Middle Eastern religions and politics. Hers was a matriarchal culture that worshipped High Priestess Astarte. The people knew her, for they walked in her body, felt her tears in the rain, and heard her voice in the wind. They did not have to look for Astarte. She was anyone looking wherever they were. The invasion of Europeans signaled the end of the Sudanese dream. Now they walked the earth without connection to her, only the nightmare of the gun and slaughter. The Mark IV was out of sight, heading for the portal. Quesanda smelled the hate and alienation of Corner. She also knew the little boy hiding behind his big guns. She passed the pedestrian world of laughing feet to the engineered landscape of rolled steel, cast concrete, and diesel freeway, all under the same blue sky. She took Shoreline Avenue over the 101 freeway that cut through towns and neighborhoods, local main streets reduced to strip malls with glowing corporate logos. She crossed the freeway traffic into a deserted stretch along the north side of the portal's airstrip. Rows of 3-story commercial buildings broke open periodically with narrow alleys. She turned down one alley that revealed the open airstrip. Driving alongside its fence, she came upon parallel stripes of black tread marks that burned through a ragged tear in the chain link. She wheeled around, following the path, torn steel wire scraping the car's high-dollar paint. Quesanda squirted the tarmac until she saw the Mark IV shielded by Japanese maples. The bay air crackled with salt and ozone. Pulling up to the Lincoln, she saw Fawn Rave, wrists raw, nostrils rimmed with white powder, weeping behind the wheel. Quesanda slipped out of the BMW and tapped on the glass. Fawn leaned back, tear stains streaking her cheeks. Her wrists showed red marks where the plastic ties had dug in. Christina used the butt of her .22 to smash the glass. Cutting the ties, she helped Fawn from the car to the trees at the rear entrance. "Tell me, sister, where's Corner?" Christina asked. Fawn shook her head. "Bastard going to die hard for killing Enoch." "He was my friend, too. Stay here while I find him." Christina slipped into the building and made her way stealthily with gun raised to McCracken's office. She smelled cordite as she approached. 2 bodies lay on the carpet. McCracken sat slumped over his desk. As she approached, he raised his head. She saw blood on his head and chest. "You missed the party, Sheba. Afraid I haven't had a chance to clean up," he said with labored breath. Page 334. "We need to get you to a hospital." No time. You never told me how it was in the pod," he asked, his eyes imploring. "It was and still is the ultimate ride. You did it, RJ. Your masterpiece works," she replied, his hand gripping her collar. Tell that bastard Warren. Tell that son of a bitch. Tell him I won," he rasped, guffawing his last breath. She loosened his grip and straightened back up. His eyes, so lustrous with success only a second before, went empty. She turned to find Corner leaning on the door frame, fingers loose on his Colt. Supernal light glinted off the blue-black surface, charging the air around him with oil and cordite. Blood spore dotted his cheeks and forehead like pox scars. His mouth slacked into a cunning smile on seeing Christina. He walked over and pressed a gun barrel into her cheek. "Black Princess, where is your knight?" he asked with a smirk. "All I wanted was to take a ride on his spaceship. I didn't want to kill him." Corner kept talking as he forced her over to the window. "It's a terrible, terrible thing to kill a man. I never wanted to. They made me do it." Corner started weeping openly as his grip tightened. Christina tried working her jaw to speak, but he kept the barrel tight. I wanted to see what it felt like being free of them. McCracken laughed at me, and they killed him," he said, his voice breaking into a wail. "They murdered him, and now they'll murder you." Forced to her knees, Christina felt the barrel of his gun against her neck. The toothless smile and crinkled eyes of her grandmother appeared to welcome her on the other side. The smile faded in the crackle of electricity. 2 barbed darts piercing his leather jacket. Corner fell in a series of uncontrolled muscle seizures, limbs jerking without benefit of connection to the mammalian brain. Urine spread from his crotch to puddle on the floor. Fawn stood behind him with the black plastic taser, her fingers white on the trigger. "Indians don't always lose, shitbag." Christina got to her feet. Alarms could be heard in the distance. She checked the clip in her automatic and they hustled back to the cars. A satchel sat on the hood of the BMW. "It's full of guns and bombs," Fawn said as she leaned against the smooth trunk of a Japanese maple. "He was Diablo, the devil," Fawn spit the words. "The taser will only keep him down for a few moments. We need to get out of here. I'm free of his smell. You go. I'm walking out." "Where to, sister?" "Out there. I got brothers ganged up with the Sadistas. Thanks for helping me, but no more for this girl. I go bury Enoch. See you around if I'm unlucky." Fawn walked away as Christina headed for her date with the real devil. Wind rattled dry leaves as Moore stretched out on the ledge next to Christina. She now rested his head on the silk stocking sliding over the taut flesh of her thighs, exposed where her robe parted. Moore slipped into a dream of a landscape of low hills, where wind flattened tall grass with the imprint of unseen form. He saw Gina walking toward him, her skirts playing out, hair dancing across her face. She flashed a smile before speaking words he could not understand. She came into him until he passed black in the soaking darkness of sleep. When he woke, the indigo sky had deepened to purplish black. The last rays of the sun faded into slumbering glow on the Pacific rim, its light blasting off the speck of Venus rising in the southwest. Darkness more is born of the light, Christina said. She shifted her body as slender fingers stroked his cheek. She looked off to a point beyond, a soft grin lifting the corners of her mouth. Stars emerged as the earth shaded out the sun. I must have died and gone to heaven, he said. How long was I asleep? That little old speck up there looks like a cosmic eye of your goddess Venus. Will she help us beat that devil war, Raina? We all must turn into her out of a cosmic soul to be able to comprehend the magnitude of our solar system, let alone our galaxy. I mean, come on. Who are we all turning into out of this personically in time, now space, yet awareness of it not disappearing in the magnitude like an ant on a mountain? How is it possible unless we all turn into route of ABCs now, a black around a gaining, asking of it why any knowing out in word center point of view of you or me in first person singular now of a being seen still in any or every eye, stare eye appearing and gazing it at the macro, micro, mean universe? You now versus why you're you still in the first place, indivisible invisibility as any individual. That is or should be the debate, moment by momentum, or lifetime after lifetime. Moore felt everything falling away till he almost lost consciousness. Regaining his composure, he looked beyond his feet to a point far distant into which arrays of letters and numbers flowed. Christina traced the path with her hand. Stir this soup, and what does it spell? I'm seeing out in the word freedom, not looking for any literal meaning of it merely in word. That's the freedom of awareness in the painter's eye, when drawing on it, painting in it, focused as any seer seeing now in mind, as then relatively free from thought, free from judgment at least, while painting. But then what happens? Because often having a warped sensibility in social affairs, artists, when not painting, may be real buttholes. At least speaking for myself. Taking a good run at this painting will likely finish me. Where does it y'all go, this expanding universe? As expanding into what or why? Perhaps by expanding attention out into such a cosmic awareness of it as Orion, Christina said, pointing overhead. We all might turn black into a greater perspective awareness of a being seen, shot with eye, star eye, as key all the time now, space in time. Check out Constellation. Page 336. Constellation Orion or Osiris, a grandfather, a great desire of Egyptian man as a memory, a grand desire, Egyptata, my mythologies, us, a wide eyes, leap into the heavenly possibilities. Over there, Sirius or Isis, Heavenly Mother, just us now below the horizon. A Horus, Aurus, the sun. It seems now we all turn into or out of appearing of it in El Sol, light of day Y, now any appearing of it. In a familiar trinity, Father, Mother, Son, her, him, it, seen now asking of it why, a la queen, K of that in which our eyes, Son, arising in its mean macro, microcosmic memory of any or every body of a man is mind, a scale which offers invisibility and a word freedom awareness of a being seen, aware of merely appearing and gazing it out of it as zany seer sight, seeing insight, anybody merely appearing and gazing it out now as awareness of anybody else, as thoughts of a great God is to be literally, y'all, be doubled in a name alone. Beyond any mere inward God dogmas, the Christian Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, where Isis Sirius the Mother tumbles from the brightest star visible in our heaven to a ghost. Yeah, but a holy one, Moore responded. A hole in one. Putting it like that makes me more aware of the patriarchal bias, he said with a laugh. So amazing, though, to see the father and mother still shining on before our eyes as they have for millions of years. That's immortal enough for me. Of course, it's just a bunch of smoke and mirror. Why, so why worry about these old bones? He asked, flattening his cheek against the mound of her belly. You sure we all didn't turn out making a baby back there? In that I am pretty turned around. Christina slid out from his weight. It seems we all get turned out into fooling ourselves, appearing of it out in words, that despite experiencing it directly and periodically indivisible invisibility over a third of our lifetime, as once awake we all appear by now turning into a knowing out of a denial of that indivisible invisibility of any or everybody. It seems we all turn out of a black around into a knowing denial of our own indivisible invisibility. That is the catch. The devious deception of our own denial of indivisible invisibility, despite a constant recurrence of a direct experience of it. Now you know ABCs of a being seen still in the first place. Indivisible invisibility of y'all now as falling, as leap black around asking of it why now, any knowing out of it, of any understanding, that spelling of it with intent of a why as existing, that in toward a twisting into as exiting, duplicating, under the spell by any understanding, the spelling of it generates warehouses of libraries, duplicating as explaining phonographically any knowing denial of it now in theory alone. Now turning into then by knowing denial of a being indivisible invisibility, it now appearing as zany, wasted, wanting thinking of it thoughts of a goddess to be literally, y'all. Information of a science whole energy body of Jesus. A gravity wave weight of waiting on any or every occurrence of it a being. See now, merely mirrored out in word information, ABCs, as that inward information still indivisible, invisibility, yet now as thoughts of knowing any appearing. Appearing it merely mirrored out in word by knowing of it any inward denial of a being, seeing still indivisible, invisibility. That singularity of a why I of a being seen merely appearing and gazing it now turned into knowing appearing of it, y'all, as X, y'all. As sex. The other industry. Industrial scale poon to meet the sheer demand. It takes a sick artist's mind, but yeah, the old-timey bordellos were fuck factories with VD syphilis, its main byproduct. The red vengeance on the white man. Moore could see coroner psychosis as syphilis on the brain. When his foster father lost his farm, he turned it into a bar hound, which not that long ago y'all had a bordello upstairs. Then Frequenting a bordello would be as common as walking into any bar, which also meant commonly bringing sexually transmitted disease to the procreative table. The pathos of anybody as X seems as to necessitate suffering as means to find or realize our way out of it. Just us from ABCs in toward understanding any spelling of it, we all may turn into any potential pathos in appearing out of a being seen still in the first place. Now merely mirrored in a while, asking of a why, knowing out our own duplicity, asking of it yet, a knowing out of our own duplication, deceived by our own knowing of any withered, wanting thinking of it, any thinking of it as X, adding duplicating as thoughts of a singular God essay to be literally, y'all, in that mere duplicity, turning at black around supersonic or phonographic echo into woe. Now, a knowing out of it, a being anybody. Anybody of industrial grade obsession with a being seen appearing out of it as X, y'all. You as Xy beast. That's why you may be onto something or on something, Christina offered. There, anybody as though as X is set up, appearing out in word as two, as in toward that simple twist of fate, faith, or family, as existing in formation, finding ourselves as thoughts in a root gender schism enhanced biologically, as too often perverted culturally with violent overtones. We all still turn into murdering, raping, pillaging as y'all beasties? Moore replied. Just let loose the dogs, but then we all turn into serving, suffering, any appearing of it. In her eye of evil, Kali Ma's devoured, a devouring in her eyes, appearing, a gazing it out, often a binary of any or everybody. Y'all got me or you in memory there, Christina answered. Ma's nature now, time machine as glistening to the tearing it black down in her eye, appearing it out in everybody as wave function of a funny action appearing, disappearing, following its mirroring. Why now, as any potential to appear information only a while now. In that uncanny, desperate deceit of any appearing of it still, a being seen merely appearing engaging it, yet indivisible invisibility in the first place, yet over the course of any lifetime, 33 plus or minus percent of it spent paying singular attention in that indivisible black round echo of a being seen supersonically out in her eye of any or everybody. At attention now in our eye, all appearing, engaging it, turning into a black around, echoing a singular black invisibility denied out in toward appearing of it again. A reality asking of it why now, a being seen instilled as a singularity confirmed directly and periodically by ABCs as untoward a untwisting, unwinding of it a black around into one indivisible, a unconsciousness. It being seen con merely in form as a while now of that in toward a knowing. Page 338. A knowing out of it. A time machine turning wheel a wheel must turn into or out of. Are you all of a being seen still in the first place? Now out of it as can now knowing denial. A denial projected of a why of a being seen appearing and gazing it out in toward finding now in time ourself ab lack there, the R-I-O as sword cleaving a being seen still in the first place indivisible, now asking of it why, knowing out of a denial, playing any role, or role of complete darkness in two beings now perceiving a gain. Paruma awaken otten, merely opening an eye of that that I am is still first supersonic person, now yet asking of it why, as ka now knowing intent of it why, I are radiating to perceive it information. As curving now around as ka now knowing out of it, a being seen in toward a real eye of complete darkness. In her black eye as mirror see as leap into a wave of everybody. That Ariel now here out in a her eye, mirrored in waves of everybody as funny action in turning a black around of a being seen in toward one, beginning by imaginary sendings of the complete D-arc, a being seen now as leaping across the psi hole, arcing the gap between any potential endings of it. Ma's possibilities with a polarity in hand. Now a time machina tears it back down as fundamental process here out in her eyes, a creation only a while now, a meanwhile. Dissolution or letting her emits on hand polarity fall as leap black up or down into a being seen still indivisible invisibility. Still we all will turn now into the future, into the few prototypes that you are in our eye, all as that magnetic roll or loop pod, the loop of complete darkness, a darkness to perceive our king of it. Why now to be invincible, indivisible invisibility? We all a wheel turning now into or out of it as ka now knowing out only in one direction of projected denial. A being seen now asking of it why a positive negation of projecting knowing out of it any rank, gaunt, star, thin king of it a while now. That positive future direction of it being seen, y'all waves lapping at black around in a yet complete loop, must return past beginning of any potential ending. There must be a black to be a gain of it, still merely in word, mirrored supernatural thoughts of it, for Ma's possibilities, Ma's and Pa's abilities as X, y'all. Thus any death is ABCs of a being seen in word, merely mirrored in a reverse. Our verse reflection as birth, hardwired existing information, a wide-eye stare, eye appearing and gazing it out, still asking of it why, a knowing out of it any appearing in word of a birth in name alone. Awareness of it ain't born when a baby born, a ba being be or nah, a bearing, a be-earing supersonic appearance out in word as sound, vibrant waves vibrating you all at black around. There must at black to be a gain, at black in complete darkness. Why words must lie, must be able to as ka now know out denial of a being seen still complete, turning out a gain completely complete completion. Why death of a being seen in the perceived arc is yet a complete turn of events where any endings are y'all still any beginning. Any perceived sound waves echoing at black around are y'all a begaining of it, a being gaining, not a liberation, in that a bearing continuity must continue as ka now knowing, turning out, appearing information of a why I merely appearing and gazing it still a freestanding in a word freedom in the first place, a story, a yi steri, aridating, completely all ablack around a complete dark, a perceiving of any day, the y light turning into the arc. Now, essay to be perceived a gain. Perceived a gain, arcing of it. Why? Awaken Otten. Awaken Otten, Akit Otten. Still in the first place. First supersonic person present now. Jesus, gravity weight of waiting for my tricks. In her eyes, ion even not that merely appearing and gazing out in words a tricky Eve-ray, a black mirror sees as anybody, etc. Any cheesy, chintzy, chiseling, thin king of it, still our king of it. Why? Still merely supernaturally as any thoughts of a god, essay to be letterly, all ABCs of a being seen now in formation in word. Still, there may be supernatural, subtle body, heavenly, or hell, those states occurring at indivisible attention, occurring along the wave of that D arc. That perceived arcing of it, why, now essay to be of a being seen black around echoing your waves of a complete magnetic, hardwired loop, see whole waves. As any possibilities of holding a polarity in hand. Either ending turns into or out of a black around in the or why polarity is mirrored, or why memory now of a being seen, of a being gaining supersonically in a word as any knowing, projecting out of it as thoughts, as expressing polarity power of positive negativity, supernaturally as any thoughts in memory of a being seen now in a word supersonically out of it, projecting denial out of a yi as expecting heaven or hell may only be a brief vacation, a short eternally all respite of a being seen still in the complete loop, and thus future turns inevitably into past, same beginning, future again. She now walked in a complete circle as if following her thoughts back to him. Y'all make me realize how, in a funny kind of way, my near death as a 2-year-old offers me, in a word freedom awareness, a first place to go in reverse of my loop. More flashback, if not to birth, to a split second prior to that premature first awakening in word awareness, years before learning any ABCs. His memory turned back to a being of blackness, indivisible invisibility, turned instantly in a primal awareness of a blackness, split opening eyes, leaping into a memory activated by a voice. A voice he realized now of death saving his life. In a word, Lord of Death dispensing a divine providence as awareness of a being fully full, indivisible invisibility. He shuddered to think how often disabusing himself of that gift, yet laughed at the absurdity of praying to a Lord Death to save a life. A death still functioning as a wave motion of life. A wave appearing anybody by turning now into then the now aska now knowing, turning out of a denial of that still indivisible invisibility. Yet Lord Death left 2 words echoing in his memory the rest of his life. Be still. A being still in the first place indivisible invisibility, now perceived at blackness. Still indivisible invisibility, now at blackness, to be instilled with intent to be a gain of an alternating moment by momentum. A gain, and a gain, and a gain. She now awakened a knowing denial of a being seen mirrored out into or turning into or out of anybody or anything. Y'all, these years, tears, and fears merely mirrored here out in her eye as a leap invisibility of anybody appearing, gazing it now as Ka now knowing, turning out a while, appearing of it information, appearing in a cunning duplicity. More laughed and cried in that spell. She nah cast over any attention under that spell, understanding ABCs. That's the real Exodus, ain't it? He mused. As X. As Exodus, as zany thoughts of a singular great God. Essay to be literally all ABCs of a being seen in a YI in a word freedom, freestanding awareness, indivisible invisibility of any or everybody. And Exodus as any thoughts of a singular indivisible God, essay to be literally all out in any name. Page 340. Out in any name alone. Still indivisible. Invisibility as any individual. They, the Y, merely mirrored as X, y'all, in a wave out of it a while, in toward a twisting into denial of a being indivisible, still in the first place. Thus, it really is a short, mean while. 40, 50 years of Jesus, gravity weight waiting on death, on Lord Death, accompanying, shadowing, saving you all the while. Jesus, the pickle of any life, awaiting as any thoughts of a goddess to be literally, y'all, Lord Death. Understanding the spelling of ABCs, Moore found himself at attention moving from an indivisible, immortal immortality, now knowing at lackness to be a gain of mortality. A gain of Jesus, a gravity weight of waiting on death. He realized it was merely mirrored as thoughts of it as Exodus from that immortal, a being still in the first place. As thoughts of a goddess, to be literally all offering a tree of 5 fruits. Eve's our eye body takes the first bite of the apple. A people being seen still merely appearing and gazing at now as any thoughts of a god to be literally all out of the Garden of Eden as X, y'all. At attention, captivated now, in toward a twisting into a knowing denial out of it a while. Merely mirrored on the double bubble, and with these as sparks igniting ignorance of it, some are bound to below, he thought. A below, in theory, indivisible invisibility of Y or Y now as expressing any inward thoughts of it, Y then appears of it. Thus it takes years, tears, fears of learning enough vocabulary and grammar to develop memory in a word mirrored mind. My first awakening out in memory came after 2 full years of shitting blind in my diapers, waddling around in a silence he was now discerning. More thought now, I'm realizing we all in turn learn. Learning words to see, hear, smell, taste, and even touch. Learning words, a being seen double. A sensory double appearing, breathing thoughts of a gotta say to be literally all creating a worlding denial of any beginning in a word he now thought. A meager thinking of it. More flashed on that pre-recognitive split-second moment still in the first place now that I am finding myself turning out of an indivisible invisibility, a black around body, awakening invisibility yet, asking of it why, be still, a knowing out of ABCs of it being seen in that awareness in a word freedom of that big monai of mine is merely appearing and gazing it out as Exodus now by way knowing inward denial of it. A denial as black thoughts of it a gain. A gain of that indivisible invisibility now supernaturally appearing of it out in toward a twisting into any information. Otten and Eve turning as X spelled out of it. Now that I'm finding myself still being seen in the first place, that indivisible invisibility of any individual, I can kick it a while, he chuckled. Then Wounded Knee brought a grimace. Death had a way of sobering him up like a punch in the mouth. Now, as then, makes me realize the years it takes moment to fall completely understanding any inward spelling of a being seen, y'all, in a YI, merely appearing and gazing it out as existing, he thought. Getting turned around as thoughts of a God to be thinking of, experiencing ABCs of a being seen, appearing of it as X, y'all, now by a knowing wave, denying invisibility, into a seeing of it, intward turning into any information of it as existing information. YAI spelling of me now appearing of it in any imaginary me alone. As yet still indivisible, he thought. Now turning into a pairing by knowing out of it a positive denial of a being seen indivisible invisibility. Now as Ka, now knowing turning out of me in the or y of me am or y, me or you in the or y, a pairing of a being still alone with any name of it, yet alone still indivisible. That's a supernatural pairing of a being alone still indivisible with appearing of it in any name, still a being seen alone. What a supernatural gas! Why am I that now not laughing my eyes off, finding in me a being still indivisible? Invisibility, Moore wondered, stretching his arms out, imploring the heavens to let go of his past checkered history, to shake loose the ghosts that drifted at black around Ping-Ting echoing his periphery, a tinnitus echoing his ears. A back to black invisibility? She now has Eve body funny that way. Even though returning to that blackness directly and periodically, we all in turn fail to realize it as leap black into our own Eve own causal body. A singular body of Eve body. Christina mimicked his pose with a shrug of her shoulders. So, anybody, Eve body. Denied while awake in the or-why of appearing in a memory supernaturally as any thoughts of it. Now superimposed in any existinking, as king of a Y, a rolling out or a roll in playing it out as X, y'all. More thought as X, posing in any role of a being seen still in sight of me. Out as X per eye and seen in her eyes a mirror touch. Naturally, all touching that mirror touch reinforces that inward spelling of a being seen now out in her eyes of Eve body, or any A now Y body cellularly, neuronically, in theory as X adding duplicating, the allegorical arcing of it Y appearing as Exodus. The Y way as existing king of Y, y'all, out in word information. A ping-ting king of a wave out supersonically, y'all, as ABC's thoughts of a being seen from the still point of view of Y now as X, y'all. Y as X, adding as X. Per eye of that I am a mem or Y, and seer duplicating now a while as thoughts in formaz appearing by waves of Ma's jest, why? A cunning, deadly, deceitful duplicity. A jest us as sublime as your kiss, more deliberated, finding her lips nearly touching his. A static electricity as zapping the slight gap in her eyes, zapping that mirror gap between merely appearing it or a hard time consciousness now to be appearing of it out in formation. We all be the eternal, the all turning, churning, spinning out at a speed of the why, now light of day, day after day, a turning that black around, echoing that pivotal whole point of view of a why being seen. In a why eye of any seer beholding now, a knowing out feelings of that felt field of you, a awakening often a 10. A being by now, our eye all curving at black around, echoing and knowing out of it, projecting out of it as any thoughts of it, in a knowing denial of it. She now pulled back with an inscrutable smile playing across her lips. For a moment more thought he saw flashes of Warrena lurking around in a shadow behind her eyes. Yet we all there on the fringes, turning into her out of it in her eyes of everybody, he surmised. We all a wheel of fortune or misfortune, spinning out of any understanding of the spelling of ABCs. A crafty spelling of a being seen in her, him, its big moni, stare eye, or why now, appearing and gazing it out a while. A wily while, maybe so, a being seen, still him, freed as in a word freedom. Page 342. Awareness of an artist's moni, merely appearing and gazing it. Awareness enhanced, drinking in his suffering with the throbbing pain of wounded knee. Pain, reminding him of the feeling of the indivisible field to be played. Could only love in her eyes leap into now, till death do us part, then he flashed while taking a long, slow breath. Y'all for show, baby. Y'all got my attention, or it's melting black into itself. More offered, feeling it free, freed in the word freedom, baby. As causally, y'all a complete magnetic loopy the loop beside whole field may move inevitably and irrevocably in one direction now into a future still turning at black around, echoing its beginning, he now intuited. Our return ending as any future beginning. Only till are y'all eyesing that pivotal point of view or of why or why he now reason. You now as any thought supernaturally y'all turning into any, in a why as existing. Unknown stillness of a being seen beaming infinitely a why I potential. Seer of a being seen me, pain, plain, procuring you as me or y'all's anyway, he considered with a shrug. For the first time, more totally apprehended the great boon of a near life or a wide death awakening experience at two, into that simple twist of fate. He found himself a being seen turning into or out of a black around indivisible body, still in the word freedom awareness of it, now asking of it why, knowing out of it anybody, in toward a twisting as exodus, a crossing that event tower, high Zion, attention, captivated in word, still simultaneous awareness, memory of a being, yet a prior why. A why I now duplicating in a memory of that, tut twamasi, that thou artist, in that swift blink of a eye, appearing and gazing it now out into why, na light of denial as exegesis of a being seen now, leading out by a peering out from above as below, of a being still, a being seen still appearing it now, arcing of it, asking of it why, knowing, projecting it out in a wordship craft, sailing out in her eyes, zapping at black around, echoing mirror seas of it. The complete darkness in her black eye of evil, there why must be lack to be a gain as X, y'all. Still complete, y'all, a long while of it being seen at black around the light of the why now. She now, from above as below, a being seen still in the first place as that indivisible invisibility of any individual, y'all, a long while. A wordship craft adrift here out in her black mirror seas we all turning, churning, burning, in a complete arc, not black or white or any hue of man as mine, or why now turning to be perceived as Ka now knowing out of it any or everybody, as X's are X at teen duplicating information. Now asking of it why, and knowing out of it is any thoughts of supernaturally feeling touching of a black around echo touched, fielding arthritis and a wounded knee, the painting of it, a painting of it, asking of it why now, and knowing out of it is zany black around echoing, doubling of it, as sound waves function in forming any skinny, scant, starved, thinking thoughts of it. Now a supersonic virus in the paint, it now blew his shit away in a wave at attention. A wave at often by now radiating information of it. Got the gift, naturally all attention may be paid out or played a lag around echoing in a being seen still, invisibility of y'all behind the eyes. She now Christina, sheer luminous as existing. More now could only see in her eyes by baby mirrored to nature all eye of duplicity of y'all. One now are you not denial of it being price paid into attention, appearing out of it, moving at black around that same direction. From a being lack to a being a gain, out of a being seen, appearing and gazing it at attention, now appearing by, asking of it why, knowing it, out in toward it as twelve beings in formation. And then I am finding free choice, that Ariel call of that precise split second before the fall. Before falling, understanding the inward spelling of a being seen out in her eyes of everybody. Now, asking of it why, knowing out of it inward as cause of it. It merely mirrored at paying attention to it a while. Cunning inward ship craft now is sailing out. Appearance of it in a lifetime experience. In any moment that I'm finding myself free of thoughts, if I gotta say to be literally, all zany mirrored potential image, imagined moment after momentum, recall still a being that. A prior why. Let that inward mind mirror on and on, only as thoughts of that I am, that mirror or why reflection. More let his mind run free as existing in a being now me. A name in a name now out as thoughts of existing alone, reinforced by hearing my name, more thought. Hello, any name as inward a being, any mirror or why mind mirroring y'all in theory. In the or why, in mem or why, imagining a being, any image referenced in my or why name, or y'all now knowing me in name alone. More found his own words as if coming out of the mind of a stranger, scant, thin king of a strange dialectic. Yet he was not about trying as to shutting it down or in any way ignoring out of it in the or why being, still in the first place, invisibility. Thus, he thought expressing denial of a being invisibility now becomes potentially possible, with a being seen at attention now fixated on a why being seen in the or why of name alone. In that recall, I am finding myself intuited, invisibility still complete, and completely free of any mirror why name memory. Still behind my name, lurks a crazy maim. Thank you, Missy. Thank you. Me heart sings with URI badass word, cutting any knots in my name as in my heart. And name me Ma for giving such a pretentious name handle. Bless her crazy soul. Now that I am picking up moment by momentum a complete non-attachment of any mere or why inward name, my heart soars. Free. In a word, freedom at last, a being still in the first place. In a paruma, supersonic first, supersonic person present, intense I memories awakenaten. More bolted upright with the utterance of these words. Suddenly a current, an invisible hurricane, funneled his thoughts through a straw, tore through and y'all around him as the supernatural Hermes thoughts, literally y'all in it, why I Hermit. As king of it, why a cosmic Taurus. A towers of it struck by lightning denial and spiraling out a black around any word freedom flowing endlessly, beginning any ending. Or why nah? As to perceive anybody now as existing. He, the zapesting as X, the twist of fate, of faith, or trust, of family, friend, foe, the sheer zesting of it, her him it a while of love or hate, duplicity of one indivisible bliss, one functional are y'all wave as X y'all being ease. I be such a dopa. Y'all these years more why merely y'all appearing only disappearing periodically a black as me or my name now still the darkness. Of course, the D-arc now to be found complete. The complete desarcing of it, covered invisibility darkness, always turning, yearning, burning, y'all waves complete the arc in essay now to be perceived. Arcing of it, why?